So I need to explain. This is the first video that I've really done like this, and it's tapping into this need for us to become more sustainable, is one word of putting it, but I would now describe it as regenerative in our gardens. And I've heard some guys talking over the last few months that has changed my outlook on this. I've been a bit of a dinosaur, to be honest, in the past, old-fashioned way of gardening, and I've just realised that we have an opportunity to add life to our gardens, whether it's under the ground or above the ground, in our plants, even in the air. We have a unique opportunity in our gardens to add life. That's what regenerative gardening is all about. And I saw a video online. I'll put a little link to that video in the description underneath on my YouTube channel for this particular video, of an Irish lady living in Sweden who has this regenerative garden, and it's amazing what she's doing. And the interviewer asked her, how would you describe regenerative gardening? And she said, well, it's when you leave your garden much more alive than when you found it. So I'm going to be looking at little things, and that's all it takes, is lots of little things. The more little things we do, the larger the effect will be on our environment. So in this next video, you're going to see just one little thing that I've done in our garden to help encourage the ecosystem in our soil, in our garden. So if you're concerned about the planet and think there's nothing you can do, there's lots of little things we can all do, and I invite you to join me on that journey over the course of this year as I try and find more and more little things we can do to help our planet. Watch on. Thanks. Well, welcome back to our little Welsh hillside garden, where we've just given that poor old rose. Actually, it's not a poor old rose, it's a lucky rose. We've given it a hefty old prune right back down, which you will have seen on our previous video. And at the end of that video, having put down that lovely mulch there, which you can see, that lovely brown fluffy layer of organic material, we mentioned that that's great for the kind of the environment and for the soil, and that there was something else that we were doing, which was also an environmentally friendly way of controlling pests, and that was using this plant here. Now this is Bronze Fennel, which has this soft, not surprisingly given the name, bronzy foliage, which well, it's a herb for starters. You could use it for culinary purposes. But the reason I put it here is that this lovely bronze foliage, which let's get past here, gets right up high. It comes, a good meter high, 3 foot in old language. Very, very bushy. Looks lovely, actually, and that bronzy tint to it makes a nice backcloth to our orange coloured flowers on the roses. But the other reason we've got it here, and this is the bit we've been waiting for, is that the flowers, they have these kind of flat heads of bright gold flowers in the summer. They will attract things like hoverflies, which are voracious feeders of aphids and blackfly. So we've had this kind of companion planting, if you like, of bronze fennel and rose here for must be 10 years, and we very rarely get much in the way of aphids or blackfly or greenfly on our rose. We occasionally do, and we've learned how to allow nature to take its course. I remember a kind of a colleague of ours in the trade, Charles Warner, hello Charles, who grows herbs organically down in West Wales. He's years ahead of me on this. He's been gardening like this or growing like this for a few decades. I've only just really in the last few years started to try and work out how to do this kind of sustainable gardening. And he was saying that it basically is about having a natural balance. You have to have some of the aphids and blackfly around in order that the predators, such as the hoverflies, have got something to feed on. If you've got no food for them, you won't have the hoverflies around for long. But this plant certainly helps by having the right flowers, which attracts those hoverflies. So think about companion plants. Think about getting a natural balance in your garden. The other thing that I've done, I've just cut back the stems from last year on this bronze fennel, and I've left them stacked up behind a shrub here so that when the shrub comes into leaf, we won't see them. It's not the prettiest little feature in the garden. However, those hollow stems will again attract insects in there, and things like beetles, and some of the beetles may attack some of the slugs. So yeah, it's just thinking again, maybe we've tried to be too tidy and too clean and prim and proper in our gardens, and it hasn't allowed nature to thrive and that ecosystem to thrive. I remember seeing a message on Facebook, thank you Facebook, a couple of years ago that said, if you haven't got any bugs in your garden, then your garden isn't part of the ecosystem. And we all want to do our bit for the ecosystem. We need, never mind whether we want to or not, we need to. We rely upon the ecosystem for our lives and our planet. So we can all do little things like this to encourage all the small creatures. We tend to be more scared of the big creatures, don't we? If a lion walked into your garden, you'd be scared of that. But actually, we need to be concerned about the small creatures, the bottom end of the food chain, because we all, every layer of the food chain in the end relies upon the tiny ones at the bottom of the food chain. Look after those insects and they will look after you.